Hello. I have a confession to make. I always wanted to be cool. I wasn't. Ever since I was a kid, I really wanted to be relevant within my peers. I wanted to discover what is it that makes some people relevant within the culture that we lived, and why wasn't it me? I wanted to figure out what made my peers so special, and what made me irrelevant. I wanted to be praised, and I wanted to be accepted, like I'm sure most of you have at some point or another in your life. This eventually became a little bit of an obsession in my life. I was infatuated with being cool. I left my hometown in Mexico City when I was 17, and I started traveling the world looking for the new big thing. I wanted to go and join the jobs of people that I thought were cool. I wanted to go and forge the contemporary culture of my world. I wanted to participate of making these things happen. I traveled all over the world, from Paris to London to New York to Shanghai and eventually to Berlin. And I was exhausted. And full disclosure, not cool. I decided then to give it a rest and start working on some stuff that I really wanted to do. I started my own company, found a partner here in Germany, and we proceeded to start doing things that we really wanted and pursuing things that we really wanted to explain the world with. Eventually, people started coming to us and asking us to consult them on how to make their companies relevant within the culture of our times. At some point, someone gave me a call on the phone. Hello, do you think you can help us become cool? No. Still not cool. So then I decided to make it official. I was like, why not? Let's go with it. You know what? Let's create a point in which we can actually figure out what makes something cool. How do we study it? How do we go about it? I discovered two things immediately. One, that this was an idiotic cause. And the second, that I was fully in. So then I decided what to do first. The first thing you need to do is to set up the ground rules, to set up the ground that you will cover. So I decided to define cool, a very difficult thing to do. However, I wanted to create a definition of what it is that I was going to look for in all of my study. So I created a definition for cool. I wanted cool to be a noun and not an adjective. Cool to me was something immediately that you embody, something that you become, something that exists physically in front of you. So I wanted to give it a noun. And then I decided that cool would be the acquired relevance of the contemporary culture of a particular demographic. What this means is that to me, people or phenomena that were cool are actually people who forge the culture and the social dialogue within a specific demographic. However big or small that demographic is, from the world, if you're speaking about a huge movie star, or perhaps the size of a high school classroom, if you're speaking about a cool girl. But still, these people forge what it is to be said, done, worn, and thought in these demographics. And I wanted to study them. Throughout my work, we had the pleasure of meeting a lot of people, and we found ourselves with immense access within a lot of creative cultures and a lot of being backstage at a lot of cool scenes from around the world. So I decided to devise a plan, to start there first. Let's start with what we know. So I went out and I seeked out every single person who I thought was this definition of cool. People who have actually spent their lives and by end day were actually being cool. So I went out and I asked people from huge movie stars to my 13-year-old cousin's friend to TV producers and gallerists and big visual artists, PR people, and everyone that I thought was actually in hold of this contemporary culture. I then asked them, what do you think that makes you cool? How do you feel about being at the helm of your demographic? And then eventually, yes, I did ask them, do you think you're cool? They all said yes. What happened next is that I started to try to define what were the traits in common between these people. I wanted to see if they were part of a special ilk, that I still wasn't part of, or if this is something that you could actually acquire. So then I discovered, after interview and interview of about 6 months of talking to these people, and these are the couple of things that I discovered. The first thing that I discovered after speaking to people is that they were very, very, very forward about speaking to me about being cool. However, not a single one of them would go on record about it. First red flag. Eventually, I was like, okay, well, then let me try to figure this out. And I set on myself to set up the rules and see what these people had in common. First thing I discovered, each one of them had a following. It doesn't matter how big or small. And they had an incredibly codependent relationship with this following. After all, if you're cool in the middle of the forest and there's nobody else there to experience it, were you ever really cool? The second thing that I discovered is effortlessness. These people walked into a room and they immediately went cool. This girl walked into the room and everyone looked around and wanted to be here, wanted to be with her, and wanted to dress like her. And I was like, why is this? Eventually I discovered that all of these sprezzatura, as the Italians would say, was actually the work of sweat, tears, and blood in the backstage. All of these people pedal in this eternal static bicycle, trying to maintain this air of effortlessness and floating into rooms as if nothing had happened. The third thing that I discovered is something that became a little bit dark. I discovered that cool makes you lonely. People were trying to be so cool, and they were so aloof that eventually they ended up by themselves. From the girl that eats lunch by herself just so their friends don't watch what she eats, to the movie star who hides in the presidential suite of a hotel in Cannes, just to be by themselves, to be able to be themselves. The fourth thing that I discovered is that people embody a persona. They create a character that has these qualities that they want to portray to the world. However, most of the time, they end up embodying that caricature themselves. They end up losing with a quality of a person that they had to become this, what the rest of the world expects them to be. Which brings me to cool people are projections of the rest of us. We project onto them what it is for us to be cool. We want them to embody the things that we want to regiment our lives by. Be it being skinny, be it being famous, be it being rich. All of these things must be embodied, but every single one of them, unless we start thinking they're cool. Because that way it'll make us feel that we're right. It'll make us feel that we're okay. And it'll make us feel that our flaws come from a place of inferiority to them, which is, again, a dark place to think about. What I devised then is, after this study, I created a little bit of a hypothesis to start with the study. I wanted to define a bit, after finding all of these things, what cool actually is, and how it is that something, whatever it is that something needs to be cool. And I found 4 things, mainly. The first one is, cool must be appointed by someone else. I may not walk into the room and call myself cool, although I would love to. The second thing is, cool comes from the fringes of mainstream. Cool is counterculture at the beginning. It starts by going against the norm, by going against the status quo, be it punk music, be it graffiti, be it that one girl that decides to wear her hair down instead of up. It's always against something that is the status quo. And then eventually it catches on. The rest of us go and look, and we say, wow, someone is doing something different, something that actually matters, something that might forge the way we want to move in the direction of the future. And we say, wow, that's cool. The third thing that needs to happen when you're cool is that we need to remember that cool must be temporary. You may not stay cool forever, someone said. Cool is not something that you can appropriate. It's something that you must let go. It's something that you can create and you can become, but then eventually you have to let go. You have to let time pass and you have to let time roll, because otherwise that just means that you're just part of a constant. Cool is not constant. And the fourth one, which is very important, is cool. It's a product of effort. There is a commitment that comes with being cool. There's sweat, blood, and tears behind the crown of that high school prom queen. This left me now with many questions, many things to ask, and many things to wonder. The topography of cool, it's an ongoing long study of mine that has many variables and oscillating topics to talk about. It is, by its self-defining definition, not cool. These are a couple of the questions that I've been wondering lately. Where is the cool culture moving towards? Where are we going with this as a planet? Why do we put it at the center of our society? And if so, what is the biological and evolutionary importance of cool? Is this something that will implode? Is this something that is helping us evolve into a different state of our race? Or is it simply a tangential trait that we frivolously embrace? But more importantly, it left me wondering, do I still want to be cool? Thank you.